Hi guys!
Hey, it's Grechen here and Brie, and we are so excited to talk about the Hour of Code. Yay! It's finally here, our favorite time of year. So every year we like to kind of get together with you guys and just go over some of the things about what to expect. Every year we like about what to expect for the Hour of Code. What it is, why it's important, how you can celebrate with your students, some of the activities we've put together. And this year we have more activities than we've ever had before, thanks to Brie. She worked really hard on putting together a lot of killer lesson plans for you guys. So we're just going to quickly go over what the Hour of Code is and why it's exciting and what to expect, and then we'll dive into some of the activities that we've put together and how you can get set up with those. And we'll go from there. So if you do have any questions as we're going through things, feel free to put them in the chat on the YouTube page. You can see it kind of on the right-hand side. I think Sarah's already said hello, so thanks,
Hello,
Sarah. Hello, Sarah. We'll be monitoring that. You can also tweet at us if you would prefer to use Twitter. Just use the hashtag KidsCanCode or tweet at Kodable, and we'll be sure to respond. So without further ado, I guess we'll go ahead and get started. We should probably go over who we are for people who aren't familiar. We have these pretty regularly, so we kind of forget that there might be new people tuning in. So my name is Grechen Huebner. I'm one of the founders of Kodable. I've been doing this and teaching kids to code for almost 4 years now, so I feel like a veteran.
Started it all.
This is my third Hour of Code, and it's my favorite event of the whole year. It's just such a blast. We spend the whole week talking to students and going to schools, and you know, it's nice to get out of the office because we work really hard, you know, all day, every day, you know, with our heads down, but it's really fun to get out there and you know, talk to the people. So it's my favorite time of year. I'm Brie.
Yeah, I'm Brie. I used to be a teacher. I taught kindergarten, first grade, and fourth grade, and now I do our curriculum here. So I work on resources for teachers, writing lesson plans, talking to teachers, working with kids, pretty much everything to make it easy for teachers and schools to use Kodable to teach computer science. So yeah, this is my second Hour of Code with Kodable, and I'm excited. So hope you guys like what we have for you this year.
I think they will. I like it. Okay, awesome. So I'll just quickly kind of go over what the Hour of Code is and why it's so important before we get into the lesson plans. And I think it's important to note that, you know, we're not the only people participating in the Hour of Code. It's an, I guess, global movement that started by CS Ed Week and our Code.org to promote computer science education to millions of kids. I think it's over 250 million kids have already participated in the Hour of Code since they started it 3 years ago. And, you know, there's, at this point, I think, probably over 100, you know, different tutorial partners and things that do it. We've been partners with Code.org since the very first Hour of Code, and every year we grow what we offer, and I'm sure that other people do too. We always make it as easy as possible to get started because, you know, in the spirit of, you know, celebrating computer science education, really what computer science is, you know, we want to make it accessible to people, and that's really our mission at Kodable, is to make computer science as accessible and easy as possible to get started teaching. And so that's why we love the Hour of Code so much, is because it's a celebration really of all of that, you know, worldwide. And it's a really great opportunity to introduce your students to, you know, what computer science is, what it means to be a programmer, what it means to be a computer scientist, and to work with technology. And but it's also a really good opportunity to get others in your community involved. I know a lot of educators use it as an opportunity to bring parents into the classroom, to have a parent day where kids are coding with their parents and sort of showing off some of the things that they know how to do that really impresses their parents, that they can code and figure things out. And then it's also a really good opportunity to bring other people in the school who might be a little bit apprehensive about coding or unsure about it, or they've seen the engagement or they're interested, but they're really not sure where to start. To just bring them in, and get them involved and show them, how exciting it can be. But more than that, it's a great opportunity for you to kind of explore what's out there and see what your students enjoy and see what you enjoy and see how you can take this idea of, using computer science to broaden your students' horizons and to teach things in a different way and kind of run with that idea. And so it's just a really exciting week. And hopefully it goes beyond just this week and follows through the end of the school year and into the spring and to next school year. So that's our hope, and that's sort of what we want to help you get prepared for now. So I guess we will dive into the lessons.
Yeah. So just to kind of go off what Gretchen was saying, for the hour of code, our goal is to make this accessible for everybody. So this year we kind of decided to go with a few different categories of lessons, just to target different audiences. So for some people, this isn't their first hour of code, and they've already gone over the basics with their students. So we thought about that as well, giving some more advanced concepts to kind of build off what you and your students already know if you're comfortable. We do still have completely scripted lesson plans for everything we do. So, if that's something that you feel more comfortable with, then everything you need is already written for you, which is great. If you feel more comfortable and want to branch out and kind of use that as a template to do your own thing, that also works too. So our categories this year, we have beginner, advanced concepts. We partnered with Wonder Workshop to do a featured lesson on robotics, and we have, my favorite is ELA integration. So for K through 5, we have some reading and writing, Common Core standards, that we're having activities that teach basic computer science concepts and include ELA in that. So it's a great starter too for teachers to see kind of beyond the hour of code, how can I kind of integrate computer science into what we're already doing, because we definitely know what a challenge it is for teachers to find time to teach programming as an isolated subject. So we're trying to make it a little easier for teachers to see how to integrate it where you're already working.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and take a look at some of those.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and pull them up. And I posted the link in the chat window for you guys to the right of the YouTube video. But I can post that on the event page as well after the webinar. So let me go ahead and share screen. Do you want to?
Yeah, that's fine. So what you see here is our hour of code page. So at the top, I'll just point out really fast that if you are just having your students kind of hop on and do the game and just do the on-screen content without using lesson plans, this is where you're going to click. For the hour of code, you don't need to create an account and register. You don't need to create an account and register. You'll just click play now and your students will be able to play. That's pretty basic, so I won't spend time going over that. But I will show our categories of lesson plans that we have here. So like I was talking about, we have beginner programming lessons, K through 5. And so depending on your grade level, you'll select one of these lessons. We'll look at the kindergarten example here. So these beginner lesson plans all cover the foundation concept of sequence. So that won't change depending on the grade level, but the lesson plan does differ across grade levels, and it includes different kind of math tie-ins, and as well as different vocabulary, and the materials are a little different. So in terms of level, I would definitely go by grade level here and teach the appropriate grade level, but know that the programming concept across the board here is sequence. That is the focus here. advanced programming.
Hold on, I have a quick question. Should they start, since it's a beginner, why do we start with the same
Great
concept?
question. So yeah, we call this our beginner category because depending on experience level, so grade level here isn't really important, and age isn't either, I guess, because when I started learning about computer programming, I had to learn about sequence first too. So beginner is referring to the foundation that anyone needs to begin with to learn about computer science. So if you were to just gloss over this beginner concept, the rest of the material wouldn't make sense. So it is definitely important for all grade levels to start here with this foundation before being able to add other elements and kind of build on their knowledge of programming.
Got it. Okay.
So given that, some people in our audience, I'm sure, did the hour of code before, I would definitely suggest looking over this, but you may find yourself looking for more advanced concepts if you're familiar already with programming. If you've already done a little programming with your students, then I would head to our advanced programming lessons, which are here. And so our advanced lessons are also designed for specific grade levels, but each grade level has a different focus. So kindergarten is doing sequence, first grade is focusing on loops, second grade is focusing on functions, and then getting into third grade, students are learning about variables, and fourth and fifth grade then has much more advanced content that actually includes JavaScript syntax. So if you have not already, I suggest beginner concepts like we were just saying, because this later stuff will be a little too, it probably won't make much sense. So if you use it every day with your students, and then later diving into.
How do these lessons people who have a Kodable account would have?
So if you have a Kodable account, then it is material you may have already seen before in terms of the concepts. So these concepts are all taught in our curriculum as normal. So yeah, if you have an account, you may be a little familiar with them.
Okay. Could they bring these lessons, if they've already got an account, could they use these lessons?
Yeah, absolutely.
Teach with them?
Yeah, and the great thing during our code week, these are free. So it's definitely a great opportunity to take advantage of some higher level free resources that are out there. I know, a lot of teachers that's out there. We're always looking for that. So yeah, this is definitely a great week, and these will be available indefinitely.
Okay, awesome.
And then I'll jump down to our robotics lessons. So this is just one lesson, and you could use it K through fifth grade. This is where we actually partnered with Wonder Workshop to incorporate one of their robots. So a lot of our teachers who use Kodable ask us all the time how they can kind of work with robots or different things that they're using in their classroom. We thought this would be a great example of kind of how to do that. So if you do have robots or B-bots or Sphero or any other kind of robotics tool that you use in your classroom, this is a great starting point to see how you can kind of include programming concepts with your robots. And obviously you do this lesson during the week, and then I'm sure you'll get ideas for other ways you can incorporate programming concepts into robotics in your classroom beyond this week. And then we have our ELA category. So each grade level focuses on a specific Common Core standard. So all of our ELA lessons are focusing on introductory programming concepts. So that's sequence. So K through 5 ELA, we are learning about sequence through the lens of a specific Common Core standard. So that's obviously different for each grade level. But they do each include a reading and writing element. And it's really having students examine ways that they already use sequence, and then kind of how that relates to programming. So I really like this category of lessons. I think it's a great starting point to see kind of how you can teach programming every day in your classroom, whether that's dedicated time for programming or not, and go beyond that hour of code and really include computer science in what you already do day to day.
Awesome. Do you think you could quickly walk through one of the lesson plans just so they can get an idea of how they're structured?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a look at our kindergarten ELA lesson. So all of our lesson plans are structured this way. Hour of Code and not our full curriculum is structured this way. On the left-hand side, you'll always see kind of a little overview of the information you need for the lesson. So how long it will take, what concept is being covered, materials. Materials that you need will always be included here. So if it's a graphic organizer, if it's an exit ticket, if it's, I don't know, worksheets here, in this case, sentence puzzles that you'll cut up and have students put together. When you click this blue download teaching materials, everything will be there for you and all you'll have to do is print it. So across the board, all of our lessons call for, materials, but you will never not have what you need. And you can print the lesson plan here as well. So the objectives for the lesson are always listed at the top. In this case, there's Common Core alignments, so we've highlighted that for you, what standards are being worked on. And then the lesson has an opening, direct instruction, where you'll teach the concept, guided practice. In this case, they'll be practicing with the sentence puzzles that are included, and then independent practice. So for the Hour of Code ELA lessons, the structure is a little different in that the independent practice is not on screen. You may find in other lessons that the practice is kind of a lab. We use the on-screen lessons for students to practice, but during the Hour of Code for the ELA, we actually have them doing that as a closing activity. So every lesson will have practice on screen. It just may look a little different in the lesson cycle, depending on the category for our Hour of Code lessons.
Okay. And for the on-screen portion, the independent practice on-screen portion, can we go over where to send them?
Yes, great question.
Okay, cool. So for this section here where it says closing exit ticket, this is relates to our ELA lessons, but every other lesson as well is going to have levels in Kodable that relate to the lesson that you just taught. So I'll just show you guys really quickly where to send your kids. Once you finish the lesson and they're ready to, get started coding and get the devices out, you're going to send them to this link here where it says play now. That's going to open game.kodable.com/hour of code. And they can either play without saving if you don't have a Kodable account, if you haven't set up a teacher account and you want them, this is just kind of a one-time thing, just for fun. Or if you're just getting your feet wet, you can have your kids play without saving, and that'll take them directly into the game, and they just get going. And for anything that's covering a sequence, it's going to automatically take them to the relevant levels. If you do have a class code and you do have a teacher account already set up, you can also have them log in here with that. They're just going to click play with a class code or student code and enter their class code as normal, like they normally would. And that's, how you get them started. If you're going to be using the iPad or an Android device or your desktops, the downloaded version on a Windows PC or a Mac, it's going to look slightly different. You're going to have to use a class code or a student code, or create a new profile for them on that device. But I think that you all are probably familiar with how to do that because you've probably already downloaded Kodable ahead of time. So I would suggest just walking through that process on your own ahead of the class, so that you know how to get them signed on. But it's all pretty simple, just like this. I'll go ahead and show you what it looks like to log in with a class code, so that if this is something you're interested in doing, you can see how easy it is for them to get signed in. So my class code is famous class. Let's type that in. And then I can select my name from the list of students. So here I am. And then I can automatically resume my progress from where I left off before. So the great benefit of having a class code is that your students' progress always saves, and they can log in from any device just by using that class code and selecting their name. So if I wanted to continue, all I have to do is press play and it's going to resume where I left off before. So yeah, that's how you get your students logged in. You can see it's really simple. If you do have a class code, to just kind of get them off and rolling. Anyway, cool. So one other thing I should mention is that this URL with your roster can also be saved on your class website if you want to. So it's just game.kodable.com/class and then your class code. And that's your unique URL. So if you don't want them to have to type in the class code every time, you can just save this URL and students can just click on the name to get started. So it's pretty simple to remember. Just game.kodable.com/class and then your class code. And it's also on your teacher dashboard. You can find that as well. So that's really all you need to know as far as like getting set up and what we're offering as far as lesson plans. Feel free to look through all of these lesson plans that we have available so that you can kind of see, you know, what would fit best for your students. Yeah, so you can see what would fit best for your students. You know your kids the best. You know what level they're at, and so you can decide, you know, what would fit their needs.
We have a question coming in.
Sure.
So if someone has an excess of classes, like 30 classes, for example, is there an easy way to add all of their students, or do they need to have separate classes?
That's a great question. So if you want to import all of your students for the hour of code and you want to have their progress saved, whatever they're doing for the hour of code, I would suggest importing your classes using Google Classroom if you have that set up. You can log in with your Google account, and then there's an option when you create a class to import your classes in bulk, and that'll actually give you the option to import all of your Google Classroom classes. If you don't have Google Classroom set up, you can still bulk import. You just have to copy and paste your rosters from a spreadsheet. So whenever you go to create a class in your teacher dashboard, you'll actually see the bulk import option and be able to set up all your classes in one swoop instead of having to do 30 separate classes. That would take all day. So we want to make it really simple for you. So yes, there is a way to do it pretty quickly and painlessly. And that would be my suggestion.
Yeah.
And you can set up class codes and everything there too. So you can come up with, you know, a unique structure for how you want your class codes to work. Usually something simple and easy to remember, like the name of your school and their room number is really easy. And that way they all have, you know, a memorable class code. You can do a custom one by us, but it's just going to be a random set of numbers and letters. So we don't usually recommend that. Any other questions?
Not right now, no. Okay, let's see here.
Okay, cool. So so I think that the next thing that we should maybe go over is kind of what to expect on the day of, and like how to be prepared for the inevitable technical issues that may come up. And I think, you know, you can expect a lot of excitement. The kids are going to be really pumped. Teachers, there's going to be kind of this energy in the air of everybody, you know, and you know how it is when you do something different in the school day. People are a little bit off and they're just like really thrilled to be doing something out of the norm. So there's going to be a ton of excitement. Just kind of go with the flow. If you have something come up, a technical issue, there's going to be a lot of people on every website. So, you know, people are doing the hour of code globally. I know we've done a lot to prepare for the amount of traffic that we're going to expect. So, you know, we don't expect to have any issues, but if you're using something else, they may go down. Have an unplugged activity as a backup. All of our lessons include an unplugged portion, that group practice. So you should be fine there if you're using any of our lesson plans. But if you do have, you know, an on-screen lesson plan for your students, be sure to have an unplugged activity prepared as a backup. If you're using iOS, Kodable on iOS, a downloaded version on your desktop, or if you're using the Android version, you won't have any problems accessing Kodable. It can all be played offline, so you should be fine there. If you're using the web version, I would test it out in your classroom just to make sure that you don't have any firewalls or anything that are going to come up the day of. Just test it out the week before, just to make sure that your computers can all access it. And yeah, just be pumped and excited and ready to share, some exciting experiences with your kids. I think one other thing that is always fun to mention is the story of Grace Hopper, who was actually the inspiration for CS Ed Week and the Hour of Code. She was an admiral in the U.S. Navy, and she was the person who invented the first compiler, which is the part of the computer that converts the coding language into binary so that the computer can read it and understand it. And she was just an awesome, really cool, inspiring lady, and her birthday is December 9th. And so the Hour of Code is actually, and CS Ed Week is actually inspired by her and meant to sort of celebrate her life and everything that she brought to the realm of computer science and to help more kids learn about computer science by celebrating her life. So it's kind of a fun story to share with your students. We have a fuzz in Kodable named after Grace Hopper, Gracie Fuzz. And then
a lesson on here if you have an account. It's not a Hour of Code lesson, but if you're already a Kodable user, there is a lesson on Grace Hopper as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's exciting. Which section is it doing? Loops. Okay, cool. So if you're a Kodable user, look for the lesson on loops about Grace Hopper if that's something that interests you. And then the only other thing is, if you are interested in having one of us talk to your students the week of the Hour of Code, we are taking applications. It's a crazy week for us, and we have a tight schedule, but we are letting people apply through Wednesday to have us talk with your class. So if that's something that you're interested in doing, we'll post the link on the YouTube page so that you can, just send us your information and we'll get back to you after Wednesday about our availability. So I think that's everything. Can you think of anything else?
No. If any issues come up during, this week or next as you're preparing, you can reach out to us at support. We have a help desk. We'll put the link for the help desk. It's probably going to be useful if you're setting up an account. If you're just using us for the Hour of Code, I don't think you'll have many questions. But if you are interested in getting an account and getting started, we'll have our help desk link there that might answer some onboarding questions. And yeah, we're very available. So
yep,
here all day.
We're so excited. So we're all hands on deck that week. And like Brie was saying, if you are setting up a Kodable account, it is something we recommend if you're at all interested in going beyond just this week, of coding. If you're thinking of taking it beyond, this week and going in January and into the spring, we definitely recommend having your account set up and entering your students. We make that process really, really simple. So it takes probably less than 5 minutes to get it all set up. I definitely recommend taking a look at that, at least if it's something you're interested in. So, and again, you can always ask us if you have questions. So if nobody else has any questions, then I guess we'll go let you guys have your Monday evening. We'll wait a minute or so and see if there's anything else, but we're so excited. So
we do have one question coming in.
Okay.
Let's see. Does the online portion of the Hour of Code start at the same level for every grade? What percentage of the Hour of Code should be online? So the online portion differs depending on the grade level. However, for the beginner concepts, it is the same levels for sequence. So actually, K through 3, I think it is, just does the first part of sequence. 4th and 5th does more. So because they're older, they'll move through lessons more quickly. So they, in the lesson plans, it says to have them do 10 levels versus 5. So you'll see that difference. And then obviously for the advanced concepts, they are different for grade level and they're different concepts. So they'll be working on different on-screen lessons. In terms of percentage, most of the lesson is meant to be unplugged. So probably about 10 minutes of on-screen practice, I would say, 10 minutes of screen time per lesson. But you can kind of change that as it fits your classroom. So that's really, you know your students, you know how long they'll need for an unplugged lesson versus screen time. And yeah, that's totally your call, but we recommend about 10 minutes of on-screen practice per lesson.
Yeah, so it's about,
Out of an hour, so
yeah, 10 to
20%.
15 of the lesson, the direct instruction, then like 20-ish
For
unplugged,
practice, yeah.
and then about 10 online. So you have a nice, well-rounded lesson.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions out there? Let me check Twitter real quick. Don't have anything on Twitter. Anything else on YouTube? No. All right. Awesome. Well, thank you all so
Great.
much. We really enjoyed it, and we are so excited for our code.
Yeah, we'll see you next week.
See you next week. Bye.
Thanks, guys.